Hi everyone, welcome to Jerematics Tutoring. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to evaluate functions, like plugging in a number for x, and then after that you solve for your y value, which is your f of x value, which is your output. So I'm going to show you how to insert input inside of your function to get an output. So as you can see, it says f of x, and f of x means that our output depends on our input x. So f is the function of x, because f depends on x, and your x is your variable, is your input variable, and over here the function is 4x squared plus 3. So our function is 4x squared plus 3. This is what our function equation is. And this is a quadratic function, because it's got a variable with a degree of 2. So it's not a linear function, it's quadratic. So you'll be asked to sometimes substitute values in for x. Sometimes they'll be numbers, sometimes they'll be variable expressions, and you can substitute variable expressions inside of your function, and it's actually not that hard to do. You just got to keep in mind that what's inside of these brackets here is representing your variable, your x. So if you got something like a plus 1, then you replace x with a plus 1 entirely. It's all a plus 1, not just 4a squared plus 3 plus, no. It would be 4 multiplied by a plus 1 squared. Allow me to demonstrate. So you got something like 4 f of a plus 1. So f of a plus 1, a plus 1, a plus 1, and then we would replace our x with a plus 1. A plus 1. It goes inside of the brackets, and you just replace your x entirely with what's over here. And it's like, for example, if you've got f of 5, well, you'd replace x with 5. If you got f of 4 plus 1, which is 5, but if we leave it as 4 plus 1, you'd replace your x with 4 plus 1, because it's the same thing, right? You can't just take one part of what's inside of the function brackets. You need to take the entire thing, and you need to put it in the brackets where x is. So that's how you do that. But of course, the first example of videos, I'm not going to be showing you how to simplify all of this. I'm going to start with an easier example, and then we'll work our way towards things like this. And normally, when you evaluate a function with a variable expression, you never you never get a number as your output. Normally, you'll always have it in terms of a variable expression. So this would be equal to 4 multiplied by a plus 1 multiplied by a plus 1, and then if you FOIL it out, you'd get something like 4a squared plus 8a plus 1, I'm pretty sure, plus 3. So it would be 4a squared plus 8a plus 4. That's what it would be, something like that. Well, anyways, the first example I'm going to be giving you will be f of 5. F of 5. F of 5. So 4 times 5 squared plus 3. What's 5 squared? Well, that's 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. So we get f of 5, and remember that 5 is our input, is equal to 4 times 25 plus 3. So 4 times 25 is 100. So we get f of 5 is equal to 103, because 100 plus 3 is 103. So f of 5 is equal to 103. And as you know, 5 was our input, and 103 is our output. So our x-coordinate is 5, and our y-coordinate is 103. Because as you know, x has always been our input variable, our independent variable. Independent variable goes in here. Dependent variable goes in here, because remember that it's the output of our function that depends on the input. Because the input is what we put inside of our function, and the output is what comes out of it. So f of 5 is equal to 103. How would we represent this as a pair of coordinates? Well, what we do is we grab what's inside of the brackets over here, and this is our x, and then we grab what's our output, and we put it as our y. So the coordinate is 5, 103. So for an input of 5, we get an output of 103. And of course, since you can't have two different outputs for the same input. So whatever you put inside can not have two different possibilities for it. So this is the first example I gave you. The next example I'm going to give you is going to be f of a. F of a. So what you do in this case is, instead of replacing your x with a 5, you'd replace it with an a, and then you'd evaluate your a as a squared. So f of 5, f of a is equal to 4 and then a squared plus 3. And you know that a times a is a squared, so we get f of a is equal to 4a squared plus 3. So for an input of a, we get an output of 4a squared plus 3. And as you can see, our input of a variable expression evaluated into an output with a variable expression. Now, as you can see, we didn't get a number as a result because a does not have a defined value, because a can be any value, right? So we need to leave it as a general formula for it. Because, for example, if we say that a is equal to 3, then we plug in a 3. So that's how you evaluate functions with a variable. The next example I'm going to give you will be the f of a plus 1. So you can see what happens when you evaluate something with a variable and something you're adding to it. And it's actually not that hard. You just got to know to distribute. You need to know how to distribute. So f of a plus 1. F of a plus 1 is equal to 4a plus 1 squared. And as you can see, this entire thing is being squared. It's not just the a being squared, it's the a plus 1 that's being squared. So what we need to do is, since we know that squaring means you're multiplying whatever is inside the brackets or whatever the base is by itself, then what we need to do is we need to expand it. So 4a plus 1 multiplied by a plus 1 plus 3. And using the priority of operations, we know that we need to multiply first. So we need to FOIL this out. So to FOIL this out, what we do is we kind of go like fishing. So we catch our a over here, and then we catch our plus 1 over here. So we get 4a squared, and then we caught up 1 and an a, so we multiply these two together. This gives us plus a. And then we go fishing again, and we catch two things. We catch an a. So 1 times a, that's a. And then 1 times 1, we caught a 1 times 1, so it was not a very good fishing day, but we still caught something. We caught a 1 times 1, which is a 1, plus 3. So 4 times a squared, that's 4a squared. And then a plus a, that's 2a, because there's two a's. Multiply by 4, that's 8a. And then 1, then times 4, so plus 4. Then plus 3. So 4a squared plus 8a plus 4 plus 3. So that's 4a squared plus 8a plus 7. Plus 7. So f of a plus 1. So we need to write that out at the end to show that this is with an input of a plus 1. So we know that f of a plus 1 is equal to 4a squared plus 8a plus 7. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I had the 4a squared plus 8a, and then I think I said plus 4 over here, but the answer is plus 7. I was pretty close, because I did all in my mind, but I still got pretty close. But this is the actual answer. So thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you. And if you have any questions about this stuff, then please feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I will respond to them. And if you like my content and like to stay up to date, feel free to subscribe. It's completely free.